Thank you for joining us on Finding God in the World of Video Games, and this is a momentous day because finally, after all of my years of playing video games, a title has been released that truly understands me and knows what I need.
What we all need.
I have snuck into so many military bases, I've protected the planet more times than I can count, I've toppled evil governments, I've saved princesses from every castle you can find, but what I really needed,
what we all really
what
needed,
I didn't even know was missing from my life, was to live out a day in the life of a pain-in-the-butt goose.
Yes!
And now I can finally achieve that fantasy in the Untitled Goose game, which is now available for the Nintendo Switch and the PC.
Honestly, this is seriously a game that should win the Game of the Year award, simply for having the best title for a game, since, the perfectly named Car Mechanic Simulator that was released, because, you're a mechanic for cars. Simulated cars. I mean, it's truth in advertising, really.
Well, in this game, you are, in fact, a goose. Not some heroic goose, not a special mutant goose with crazy powers, not even a goose destined to save the world. No, you're just a normal, ordinary, run-of-the-mill ornery goose, possessed by the need to create chaos simply because you're a goose, and you can. The video game industry can honestly be incredibly cyclical. Annualized sports titles coming out the same time every year, same shooters populating the space, very predictable sequels, and then remasters filling the remainder of the store shelves.
Blah, 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 blah. It gets really boring after a while. But then, out of nowhere, comes a glorious breath of fresh air like the Untitled Goose game to remind us all of the magic and fun of this entertainment genre. The antics of the goose on the loose, honking at will, causing chaos in the lives of all who are unfortunate enough to make his to-do list is simply a joy to play or even just to watch. But all the mischief created by this rogue goose is really only enjoyable if you are the actual goose himself.
I'm not sure I would still enjoy playing this game if I was on the other end of this goose's continual harassment, constantly trying to thwart his goosely intentions and keep my stuff from being stolen and thrown in the lake. Honestly, it sounds more frustrating than hilarious.
Hold up. I don't think goosely is a thing, dude.
Well, it should be.
But it's not.
Well, the not-so-fun part of life is that many times we can feel the same way as the characters in this game. Maybe not necessarily drowning in massive challenges, but rather suffering the slow, painful death of 1,000 small cuts. These daily obstacles, minor setbacks, and little annoyances can actually do more damage to our progress than the massive icebergs that we're often able to successfully dodge because of how large and obvious they are. As an example, moving to a new home or taking a new job can be a huge life-altering moment that can be filled with fear and dread, but typically these big changes can be catalysts for moving your life onto a new and exciting path. These events invariably define you, challenging you to rise to the occasion and growing you into who you were created to be. In those moments, the presence of God can typically be very clearly felt and heard. And to tell you the truth, I rarely feel closer to God than I do when riding out a massive storm of change in the safety of His arms. It can be much harder to see value in the more mundane challenges in life, like simply finding an honest and dependable electrician to perform some necessary house repairs. This can often feel even more deflating and become a larger distraction because it is so small and inconsequential, seemingly failing to offer any real personal growth opportunity or even a sense of value. And many times, it is those private goose attacks, these small grating pains that we endure, that are the most trying times of our faith, because we know it would be a simple thing for God to resolve for us. He just won't seem to intervene. These invisible annoyances can actually be more challenging to our faith than the larger, seemingly more devastating and obvious foes we face. We can have faith to move mountains. Why can't we seem to beat this dang goose?
In Genesis 32, we find Jacob, one of the patriarchs of our faith, in a very similar situation. He's about to face his greatest fear, his twin brother Esau. And if you remember, the last time Jacob saw Esau, he kind of swindled Esau out of his birthright. His father's blessing, ringing any bells, and he took off before his brother could kill him. It's really complicated, but if you don't remember the story, you should totally take a step back and go read it again.
Suffice to say, Esau felt a certain kind of way about all of this, and now Jacob was about to see his brother for the first time since his brother Esau had sworn to kill him. So it was probably going to be a pretty rough night of sleep. Or so we thought. Turns out, things were even worse than he knew. Here we have Jacob about to face the most dreaded day of his life when a completely unprovoked attack occurs and keeps him up all night long.
Ooh.
He doesn't even get the luxury of tossing and turning and worrying all night because this unidentified person decided tonight would be the perfect night for a classic Iron Man wrestling match. All night long they wrestle until finally his combatant decides he's ready to leave. But on his way out, he touches Jacob's hip, giving him a permanent limp that Jacob would have for the rest of his natural life. So much for the big battle he was worried about. Now Jacob has this annoying, persistent limp to distract him. You know, sometimes it rains on your parade, and other times you realize while it's raining on your parade that you left the sprinklers on too. Talk about adding insult to injury.
Even the Apostle Paul endured a similar life-altering goose of an annoyance. And in 2 Corinthians, we can read about his experience with his thorn in the flesh.
So we have Jacob, we have Paul. The list could go on, but my original question still remains. What is the purpose of these gooses? 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 Geese, maybe? Maybe it's geese?
It's definitely geese. It always has been geese, but that's okay.
We'll just have to agree to disagree.
It's
I'm
geese.
sticking with gooses.
Okay.
But these daily annoyances, whatever we want to call them, whether it's the limp that we must endure, the thorn in the flesh that we're not granted relief from, or just the crazy goose that won't leave our garden alone, they all serve a simple purpose. They keep us connected to our God and ensure He is ever present in our thoughts. These waterfowl, who seem to exist purely to annoy us to death, keep Him front of mind throughout the basic, simple monotony of everyday life. Jesus isn't just for the big problems. He is our everyday companion and should be part of each and every decision we make, large or small. Without the untitled goose wreaking havoc in our lives, it can be easy to go the entire day without recognizing our need for a daily walk with the Lord.
I hope this encourages you in whatever goose-related antics you're experiencing right now to take a second, breathe, and get back in contact with your Creator. You can't keep the goose out of your garden. It's pointless to try.
Haters are going to hate, and gooses are going to goose.
Okay.
And just gritting your teeth and bearing it, it doesn't seem to relieve the pressure. It just lets the frustration build until you finally snap. Instead, let the goose guide your weary mind and stressed out heart back to Christ and remind you that He is here for more than simply forgiving our sins and saving our soul. He is our daily partner in life, ready to walk hand in hand with us wherever this wild goose chase goes. The goose can steal your rake, your lunch, and your boot, but you choose if he steals your joy.